Renato, thank you very much for being here with us. We are extremely grateful for your presence and for accepting this challenge to discuss your career. I first invited you 18 years ago for other conference in Porto that you immediately accepted. And in 2016 with this magazine, I invited you to be interviewed for our Inside Running as a Lifestyle magazine that you also kindly accepted. Having you with us again is extremely important to us, and for the specific training knowledge we hope to improve over time. Thank you very much for being here, especially in our community, in our facilities.
Thank you for the invitation, because I remember with pleasure what happened 18 years ago, and we are a little bit older,
yeah.
Of course, now.
A little bit, yeah.
Little bit. No, but it's always very interesting to see also, for me, to consider how much change there was in 18 years here. Maybe that I can appreciate this more than you, that you are the factor of this, but day after day you are not able to appreciate the difference. Yeah. I remember 18 years ago, nothing. Yeah. Nothing. So now is something, all the organization, everything, you know, step by step can go off level and become a very important point, no, not only for the athletes, runners, but also for sport generally. Because we spoke before about injuries, about prevention. This is something that we need in any physical activity. Yeah. So it's very much important to have a professional team able to solve this type of problems.
Thank you very much. I have several questions to ask you, but we must start with what happened in London 2 weeks ago. We saw 2 athletes run the marathon in less than 2 hours. How do you interpret these results? In your view, is this a game changer in marathon performance?
Marathon, first thing, more you go for something long, less important is to be very much precise in the methodology. But the most important thing is to be able to change, to remove the fright over the distance that everybody can have. In 1952, Emil Zatopek was the only one till now winning in Olympic 5, 10 and marathon. He already had equivalent, practically the same times, of the current record for women in 5,000 and 10,000, 13:57 and 28:54. Won a marathon with 2 hours 23, that it means that now there are 400 women that already ran this time. So it's clear that something happened, because Emil Zatopek ran more kilometers than today. Yeah. So which was the difference? The intensity of a long run that didn't exist. Till also Frank Shorter, 1972, was not, the personal best is worse than the record of women today, practically, and was Olympic champion. And they have a lot of competition. So we changed this fundamentally now. The speed of long run, the intensity of a specific training. Many years ago was not a problem, recovery from after marathon. Shorter himself, in the same Olympic, ran 10,000 meters 2 times, in the heats 28:04, after 3 days the final 27:51 personal best, and after other 3 days 2:10:52 for winning Olympic in 10,000 meters. No? Now, all the athletes for marathon, normally the top don't have any competition in the last 2-3 months before the marathon. Top athletes don't Saue was also the champion of the world marathon. Kejecha was one running half marathon in high level practically, but in the last 4 months no one went to only training. Why this? Because it's the only way for having the possibility, the opportunity to have specific training of high intensity. That it means high intensity in the extension of the marathon. Yeah. Before was high intensity for something short. And they competed in 1 mile, 2 miles, in indoor, everywhere, practically. At the end, one marathon runner had, at the end of the season, 15, 20 competitions. Yeah. Maybe 2 marathons, 3 marathons. I remember that in that period, United States put the trials for marathon sometime 1.5 months before the marathon of the event. Now we speak sometime not to put the trials, but to decide the teams the previous year for having time to prepare. So there is a different approach to this situation, of course, no? And after, of course, if we needed to speak about the reasons because there is this situation, we need to understand that it's not possible to compare the result of today and the result of the marathon till 10, 12, 15 years ago, because are two different sports. Now we have really advantage in this situation, 3 advantages mainly. 2 advantages, 1 already there was before. The 2 advantages are 1, shoes. Yeah. The shoes can give a big advantage in the second part of the season. The shoes for marathon don't help the athlete in the first 20, 25 kilometers. It's not that you use more long strides or more frequency for running. You run exactly like before. But when you start to be tired, the new plate, that different way that there are the new shoes, but every system is in any case with making the foot more reactive, yeah. No, practically, or like happened after 25, 28, 30 kilometers, more able to absorb. So become like a shock absorber, yeah. And in this case, you reduce the effect of the impact on the ground. Yeah. Boston, that the final of the marathon is the Heartbreak Hills. So you can imagine how is the situation. Till 5-6 years ago, normally had maybe 50% of the top 3 arriving in the evening, because after there is a big party, and inside the party there is the ceremony for the victory, no? And many of them arrived there with a wheelchair because they were not able to walk. Few hours after the marathon. Now, after the marathon, all the top 3 are there and go to dance, yes. In the party. So the legs are different, yes. No? And this can allow the athletes, under the point of view of the body, to be able to have the negative split more, almost for everybody, that many years ago was not something that normally the athletes used. The second reason is always connected with the negative split, but are the gels that is possible to use today, giving new energy, a new practically the filling the tank of glycogen practically again every time. So it means that when an athlete of today arrives around 30 kilometers, his tank of fuel is almost full like at the start. Something that many years ago was not possible. So, years ago, now we speak about a negative split. No, but negative split really very, very hard. You can imagine, no, the last half marathon of Saue was 59:01. And the last 10K, 27:20. No? So it's not only a negative split. It seems that you arrive at there without using any type of fuel. You have everything, practically, in this situation. No? So it's something that many years ago there was not. So if I needed to think, to compare with years before, all the shoes and maltodextrin that were not so practically elaborated, no? Practically. We can say that we have between 2.5 minutes and maybe 4 minutes of difference between 15 years ago. So now, 1:59:30, in my opinion, is like 2:02 over 5 years before. So it's not very much different from the record of Kipchoge that there was before. And the record of Kipchoge was not very much different from Boston 2011, Geoffrey Mutai 2:03:02, and Moses Mosop 2:03:06, practically. So, of course, the impact is looking the time. We need to consider what there is behind. No? The question is, if this is already part of the mind of the top, who till maybe 4 days ago, world record 2:00:35, no? Or 1 year ago, world record 2:01:39 of Kipchoge. We, in 3 minutes, we had the best in the world, so that period, you can run 2:04 and you be automatically in top 5, 6, 7, maximum 10. Now, with the same 2:04, is 5 minutes behind. And you are not practically, mentally, considered a champion. You are considered a medium level athlete able to run 2:05. The problem is that the medium level athlete needs himself to consider that continue to be a medium level athlete running 3 minutes. So not 2:05 but 2:03. This is the next step. The mind of the athlete now is considers 2:05 practically something that is absolutely normal for athletes that are strong, for athletes that don't have experience, for athletes that don't have good training. Everybody wants to try, and nobody fears this type of situation. The most part are not able to finish. Some of them is able to finish well. Some of them can for the first time discover that a marathon is not so complicated and it's possible to improve practically. No? The mind has a very important effect when we speak about this type of long distance.
So you believe that what happened with the mile in 1954 can happen with the marathon now, and we can have more athletes trying to run under 2 hours, and maybe the results will all of them improve in the next years?
Under the physiological point of view, I wrote already a book in 1999. No, there was a marathon scientific approach. Today, if I have to write a book on the marathon, I change 50% of what I wrote before. Because that period, we considered a mistake to have training in something lactic area, something very fast, because during the transformation, practically, of the engine of the athlete from a super to a Formula One, to a diesel, 24 hours or Le Mans, no, we needed to avoid the possibility to push for the quality, the intensity of the engine, because the engine needed, in our idea, no, to lose part of the power, but to become more resistant for lasting 24 hours. Instead, it's not more like this. Why this? Because we discover that with a different methodology, in the last maybe 20 years about, we started to put in training normally, almost every coach of top level, no? Variations that are not only the short variations that is fartlek, of classic fartlek, but variation specific. For example, 4 or 5 times 5 kilometers at a marathon pace with 1 kilometer of recovery, but not jogging, but recovery at 90% of marathon pace. So practically, when we use, for example, 5 times 5K with 1 kilometer recovery, practically are 30 kilometers of continuous run, no? Alternating 5 kilometers at marathon pace and 1 kilometer at 90% of marathon pace. No? So this got to replace the long run normally. With this type of variation, we go to improve the practically the permeability on the cell membranes. This means that we can eliminate, we can move the lactate from the fibers in more short time. But if we can move the lactate, we can produce the lactate, because before we feared to do this. And 20% of lactate produced is energy,
Yes.
new energy that we can use. So this is the fundamental type of difference that there is under the physiological point of view between the marathon of today, the preparation, and the marathon many years ago. We go to see for the specific intensity very high, no, in long distance that many years ago didn't exist.
Yeah. The intensity is critical for performance. How do you balance the intensity and the volume, especially in the last 6 to 8 weeks before the marathon? How can we manage this relationship between intensity and volume?
Many years ago, we looked for creating before the volume, no, at a low intensity. Yeah. People running a lot of kilometers, yes. No. Yeah. In the history, Japanese especially, Toshiko Seko had 480 kilometers in 1 week, no. But it's not strange, because we need to think that the people running not marathon, but 10,000 meters, like in England, David Bedford, or like Jos Hermes, were used to have 3 or 4 sessions per day, no? Yeah. And their normally mileage was 320, 350 kilometers per week, without running marathon. So there was this idea, big volume, and after approaching the competition, we start to become faster. Yeah. No? Yeah. Now we change the system. So we start for trying to have a high level of aerobic power. Yeah. Running fast for 10 kilometers, maybe if we go for a half, the maximum level is 2 months before the race, practically. No? So why this? Because we need to train, no, the body and mind to remain to high level of intensity. So become normal for the athletes, mentally but also physically, to maintain a high level of intensity. Now it's possible to run a full marathon at 180, 185 of heart rate. Was not possible absolutely many years ago. No? This because in the normal training, no, these people rarely have, maybe 2 times per week, something long that is about 170. From 170 to 180, 185 is not a big jump. Yeah. But from 140 till 180 is a big jump. Yeah. So there is this type of difference. We changed the situation. And I remember one anecdote. I met Gaston Rollins many years ago. He was born in 1937, was 41 years old, so was in 1978, practically. And he was at that period no more an athlete officially, because finished 2 years before and was the head coach for marathon with the Belgian people, had Lisbon and the European champion, something like this. And I met him in a cross country in Italy. We started to speak and he told me, I started running again because I want to win the first edition, official edition of World Master Championships, practically, no? And I ran many times with the athletes of marathon for the national team. It's a little bit more complicated because for taking the time of everybody, in the last 4 or 5 kilometers, I needed to run faster than them, riding before for riding anything. So I asked, but what are you doing now? No? And he told me, I try to go not big volume, because after 40 years old, you can imagine, no? But to improve with 10 times 1K, for example, trying to run 245, 243, something like this. I was surprised because our system was the opposite, no? I told him, what do you do with the 245, 243? And he told me, listen, no, at my age, I can't add anything really under the situation of long distance, no? Instead, it's very easy for me to lose every type of condition, no, if I don't do something short. Yeah. So we start from short, and after for me it's very easy to arrive. I had a personal, practically confirmation of this situation when I started to coach Tadesse Abram, the guy from Switzerland, that finished the career like athlete 2 years ago, running 2044 in Valencia, when he was 44 years old. And he was another that changed, improving of 2 minutes his personal best from years before, working in increasing the speed, that type of speed, not a speed short. But the ability to run faster, 1K, 2K, 3K, practically, because the mind was completely absorbed by the distance. He never had any type of mental problem thinking at 40K. The problem was the speed that he was able to maintain. So we changed this situation. So we need to distinguish the origin of the athlete, because we have practically 2 different origins for marathon runners. There are the athletes that had some year, no more 15 years like Kipchoge or Bekele or Gebrselassie, but 5 years, 6 years on track at the beginning, and they have already the speed, and they needed to change the mind step by step for becoming able to use the situation, to produce results, no? And so the idea is not to lose what they have and step by step to prolong the situation. But for example, in Kenya and in Ethiopia, in Africa generally, no? There are now people starting directly with the kilometers volume in training camp of the private management. They look for marathon immediately. So these athletes are the opposite. They have, like many years ago, very high volume and need to develop the intensity, no? And but all these can have time to do this, because till when you don't start to develop intensity, you don't find a manager, you don't find any competition. So they are obliged, for them is a must, no, to have a time for developing this situation, and this is what happened to Kiptum. No, this is what happened now to Sawe, practically. Of course, when they have coaches that Arab normally are not Kenyans, between me and you. Claudio, Sawe is Claudio Berardelli, Italian, no? So, that are able to have patience, to build, when there is the talent, step by step, the athlete in direction of the intensity.
Yeah.
Because all these people started with something more long.
Okay. And how to define the optimal intensity, the specific pace for athletes to target performance in a marathon? How to define the right pace in different moments of the season?
So
It's
also
not easy to do.
Also, in this case, we have two systems of approach. No? One is the African approach. The African approach is that sometime in a group there is some new athlete arriving there, practically nobody knows,
Yeah.
and not frequently, but sometimes this athlete immediately is able to stay with the best of the group. And after this, become a part of the group. This happened with Sawe, this happened with Kiptum. No? Both of them had to change, because they had a management that at the end, everything, there was COVID, and when they started COVID, the management practically closed, was no more interested. So they needed to look for some other solution. Both of them, I discovered that were in my group, and were in my group, but I didn't know. So it means that were people arriving from some place, were practically like underdog, without a program, without a management, without anything, and they jumped from one system, one group and another, without a system for them, but going when there was some type of training, maybe long run, because there was somebody following with the water, maybe something strange for them, like 3,001 recovery many times. So they joined, not part of the group, but they joined the most part of training, specific training for this. So they started to have some preparation, but not yet the idea to arrive. These people was saved by COVID, because during the period of COVID, the African could not go to Europe, could not go in any place. Exactly like the sprinters for the United States could not come to Europe. This was a big advantage for Europeans, because they had, again, a big field, big possibility to compete. Before was not like this. At the same time, was not the same possibility for middle distance for African and American. So what do? Or you quit completely, or you use this time, that is 1 year, 1.5 years, for training very much more tough, very much without thinking I feel tired or something like this, because you don't have any competition. Yeah. This is what happened with this type of athlete, with Kiptum, that was in the group of Julian Vanders, and with Sawe, that was in the group of Hussein Mackay, with the followed by my current assistant coach, that is called Willy Bitok. So they had the opportunity to use for more long time for changing the engine, practically. When again there was possible to move, for going to compete, we had already athletes with a high level of preparation, and of course going to very good coaches, the high level of preparation produced the results that before were not able. Because don't forget, we have for some time the best in the world, Eliud Kipchoge, before Gebrselassie, Bekele, all people between 38 and 42 years. If you are able to become a marathon runner when you are 28, not 38, you are stronger. There is nothing to do. Nobody can tell me that at 40 years old you are stronger than at 30. It's not true. Not true. You can maintain a high level very close to the level that you had before, in marathon especially, because also if physiologically the body is going down a little bit, under the mental point of view, every marathon that you run, you continue to grow, till when you cancel completely every type of rider. Eliud Kipchoge himself, after Kiptum beaten his record, in Tokyo in 2024, no, asked for the split of the first half 60-30, because in his mind, yet there was the idea to attack again the record, for having again the record. People in training with Eliud Kipchoge told me, no, it's no more like before, no more. When we go for long run, the same course is 3 minutes slower. When we go on track, no, we have 3-4 seconds of difference per kilometer. But the mind is yet with the idea that he can attack the world record becoming stronger. So this is a combination. There is a moment where the body is already going down, but what you were able to, the conquest, no, of mentally, no, the combination, the two things makes still you going up. Yeah. Till when the body is really no more able, and finally you start to go down. This is what happened, practically, no? But the mind is too much important when we go for something long.
Yes, and sometimes the problems can be more connected to the mind than to the training process, because we have the combination of both things for performance, and sometimes the mistakes or the problems are not so connected with the body, with the training, but more with the mindset, right?
African have a different mentality for the European or American. So African in their mind are always ready, also when it's not true. Yeah. So you don't run for 2 months, the manager go to you telling there is a marathon, no, you can earn maybe $20,000, I am ready. Yeah. No, 2 months that you don't run. Yeah. You are not ready. So they have some normal speaking. For example, age is only a number. Age is not only a number. Yeah. Age is age. Yeah. No, of course. It is one of the reasons because many of them don't know when they are born, because age is a number. Yeah. No, so I am born the year of famine. No, the year of famine was 1981, for example. No, so I don't know the day, I don't know the month, I don't know anything. No, so for them, no, age is something not important. Became important when the age was practically changed for making in the junior team athletes that were already 25 years, because this was honestly was cheating, something like this. But if you are 27 or 30 years old, like Wilson Kipsang started running at 28 years. Started practically, and put 4 years younger the passport. Why? Because if it was already 30, it was not able to find any manager that was interested. Instead, being 27 officially, he was 31. Being 27, find a manager that looking at the athletes not for 1 year but for 5 years. For example, no? So there are different situations, but in any case, and the second thing is instead when we speak about people that start what we told from something short. Normally, starting from something short, you have a personal best already. Personal best maybe in 10 kilometers. So if you have 28 minutes of personal best, we need to prepare going to marathon, no? To prepare the idea that you can run with a 28, a half marathon, maybe in absolutely in 61, no? And if you run in 61 with the right preparation, you can run a full marathon in 2:06. So these are parameters of difference. So starting from something short, we work in a mathematic way. So you can run like a goal in 6 months of preparation, maybe 2:06, 2:05. How much is per kilometer? 258? Okay, we put 258 like specific type of speed in the most part of training that we have already known from the fundamental period. And so we increase the memory in our muscles about this type of speed, become automatic. And we reduce the cost of running in this case. So it's a mathematical approach. The first using this, not for marathon, but for the event on track, was the father of Sebastian Coe, Peter Coe. That was an engineer. So this was the situation. No? Instead, if you come from something long, and you never competed, because many times there are people never competing. I had one example 1 month ago. No? One athlete, the first competition of his life, was used in the same group like a pacer for Amanal Petros in Berlin half marathon. And after 17 kilometers, Petros told him, okay, you can go, and was able in 1.5 kilometers to close a gap of 1 minute of 21 seconds from the leader. And after this, had not the number, but a written pacer, could not become the winner, of course. So there was the organizer that arrived to him, telling, please, remember that you can't win. No? This guy ran 59:11, the first competition of his life, and he's already 25 years old. This is a talent that maybe in 2 years we have another for 2:02 in full marathon, no, without a big problem. First competition of his life. So we have something sometime strange also for this. But in this case, we see for people having a lot of endurance, we see in training, if you are able to run faster something short, for example, one training, one session for marathon runner on track, where we can consider well what is possible to do, that I use normally are 20 kilometers of track. 2 times 3,000, 3 times 2,000, 5 times 1,000, and 6 times 500 meters, with short recovery, no, practically. This can give us, looking, not only reading the times, a clear idea of where you are, because we know in this case already how much is the general endurance, because he's starting from there. So we can do this. Of course, it's difficult to, also for European, to give a parameter between speed, intensity, and volume, practically, for an athlete that never competed. It's difficult because we don't have parameters for this. But a coach can also try to push a little bit in the first 2 months, and after can have a clear idea, no, for this.
Yeah, you have a large experience with African runners, but also with European runners. The main differences between the African and European runners are probably not so connected to mechanical or physiological variables, but more to mindset, the way how they think that they are able to achieve a certain result. Or what do you think?
No, yes,
the difference is between both?
The difference is that with African runners, I had many that started directly with me. I saw some of them in competition of cross country, something like this. They didn't have yet a management, didn't have a coach, didn't have anything. So I liked it. No, they started with me, so had a type, it was possible to build everything but their mentality was the mentality of the group, was not individual mentality, normally, no? Instead, when we speak about European, all the Europeans come to me in Kenya, in Iten, the same place, and we are already European with some year of activity, no? For example, Sondermuen, that beat the European record of marathon in 2017, come to me after Olympic, the Rio 2016, practically, and already was the European champion under 23 years before in 10,000 meters. With me, changed everything, but had already a mentality. Amanal Petros, the same, started with me, not yet a marathon runner, no, but was an athlete for 10,000 meters already. Arne Gabius improved the German people, no, with me before the first marathon, improved everywhere, running 13:13 in 5,000 meters after many years of 13:30, 13:33, something like this. So was different because they already had professionalism. Instead, the African didn't have. We needed to teach them what was. No. Second thing, they have already some performance. So I started from their performance for changing something. Because if an athlete come to me of top level, because normally one thing is if we wanted to start with somebody new. But my opinion, after the world record of steeple or Shaheen, something like this that happened in 2003, 2004, I never had again the possibility, but also the interest to go to see for new athletes. Because we are athletes, already not new, that came to me already with a good performance. People number 10 and number 20 in the world, if you come to me because of the other athletes, like now, everybody in Ethiopia go to Gemedu, that is the coach for Kejelcha, Tola, they lead them, and everybody in Kenya want to go to Claudio Berardelli. This is what happened, practically. So, at the end of everything, when they came to me already with a big performance. Speaking about steeple, for example, people that arriving to me with 8 or 10 of personal best, that now is enough for winning a medal in Olympic. 25 years ago, I could not use them like pacers for Shaheen, for example. If these people come to me with 8 or 10, 8 or 12, come to me for becoming one of the top 5, for improving. So, my first act was, listen, tell me what you did. Not precise. Globally, I need only to have a picture. Why? Because through your talent, practically, and I have an idea of your talent. Also, if you were not my athletes, because an athlete already in the group of the top 30 in the world, in Kenya, we saw him running, so I have the idea. So, your talent remained the same, nothing changed, we needed to work in your training, because tell me what you did, because what you did with your talent produced this type of result. Yeah. Now we need to improve the result, we need to add what you didn't do, not what you did. I am not interested in what you did if some mistake, no mistake. Because what you did, you arrived in there. We want the next step. We need to add what you didn't do, practically, And this is the situation. Training is to add continuously something that you didn't do before. It's not to replace. It's always a mistake to replace. You can change the proportion between one type of training and the other, but training is to add, not to replace. Every time, So, this is the parameter that you need to have in your mind. And is something that in Europe doesn't exist many times. When there is, for example, a coach young with some athlete, no, that needed to go in for maybe for 3 weeks in a training camp, they arrived with all the type of training precise, something like this, like an encyclopedia, no, like the particular of this was important. And after this, go to complain. I was a head coach in Italy, so I know very well, if I needed to put together 10 athletes, no, creating a group, also only for maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks, was not possible to follow the individual plan of everybody, because it was a stupid thing. So I tried to put together people for the same event. One is written 10 times 800. Another is written, 5 times 1200 and 5 times 600. Another 2 times 2K. Okay, all together we do something, no, practically. Because you have advantage from the group when the type of training is in the same direction. The direction is not the particular. The direction is the influence, physiological influence that what you do for changing something in your engine. This is, of course, I can't put 10 times 60 meters no, when in the plan is written 30 kilometers for a marathon runner. But when we are in the middle, we need to be able to put together people, and I used this system this year, for example, with the Italian Crippa, that needed to clean his mind after 4 times that was not able to finish, practically. And I sent in my group in Kenya, going there practically without knowing the plan. So every day there was my assistant coach with all the athletes around, explaining at 6 o'clock in the morning what they needed to do in the day. So the athlete had no time for thinking too much, this is too much, I am not able, blah, 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 something like this. So you are again in group, you can enjoy running. Alone is difficult.
Always able to do the best in each day without thinking and develop obstacles.
Of course, of course. You don't feel pressure.
Yes.
It's different, no? This is the advantage of the group. Advantage, especially when we speak about fundamental and the special period. When we go in specific, become individual. It's different, no? Are different the date of the performance, are different the situation. If you go in a race, speaking about marathon, completely flat, you need to develop speed. If you go to Boston, you need to go to find the situation up and down. So, but this is for short time, in the last period only. All the other things, the group give advantage more than the individualization for the preparation fundamental. No?
Right. Renato, then we have the genetic predisposition. We have athletes with a natural ability to train and with incredible responses to training. Others are not so good, but with a desire to work hard. When we compare both things, do you prefer the genetic athlete or the hard-working athlete?
I prefer an athlete with genetic, genetic qualities. No, very high qualities. That is hard working. Because it's the only way for becoming a champion. The only way. No? And we, of course, we look for athletes genetically strong. No? But genetically strong doesn't mean anything if there is not the intervention of the brain and of the heart in training, practically. No? So we see in the top, the first 2 months, if this overclass, no, practically, champion can become a champion or not. We see we need to teach how to be professional, but somebody never has. No, they are not able to stay in this type, to focus completely with this type of situation. So after 2 months, if you are not able to do, I am not interested. Because for a coach, there is nothing worse than to have another phenomenon that doesn't produce results. You are frustrated every time. If, in this case, I can start for people that are very hard workers. No? Another difference is that normally, who is a very hard worker is another having passion for running. We have very hard workers inside the amateurs sometimes. Too many. That is
some of them more hard workers than some athletes.
Too much hard workers if we compare with what the final level can give. No? So it's something like this. Instead, people genetically gifted. No? In many cases, they come from other sports, maybe playing football, something else. Casually go, especially when they're very young, in a competition, they discover that are strong, they go to win, and so they don't like running, but they like winning. And after remain, and for this reason they become professional, because they understand that for winning you need to be professional. No? For winning you don't need to do what you like, you need to do what you need. Instead, if you are hardworking, but you are an amateur or something, you are hardworking with all what you like, not what you need. So it's a combination of the two. But one thing clear is that the approach with every athlete must be different, because psychology needs to work individually for and the problem is, it's like when we go to some lesson, no? To some lesson, there are two different types of lecturer. One lecturer is always telling the same thing, without understanding the difference of the attendance, no? Because many times we find lecturers where we have part of people coming from university, part of people, especially in Africa, that don't know anything. In 2007, in Nairobi University, Kenyatta University, the IWF organized the first course for elite, practically elite coaches for all Africa. Every African countries send 4 athletes, 4 coaches that were the selected coaches for middle distance, practically. And we were two people, me and one physiologist, of Loughborough from the IWF, that were the lecturer for this. The physiologist was the one having the first lesson. He started to speak. After 10 minutes, one coach from Uganda asking, "Excuse me, but we are not able to understand what you explain. We don't come from university. What we wanted to know is the difference between 10 times 464 with 1 minute recovery, 10 times in 61 with 2 minutes recovery, and 10 times in 57 with a 3 minutes recovery." From that day, the physiologist, his task was opening the door and closing the door, not speaking anymore. I needed to go alone for 20 days. This is the situation. We need to be able to adapt ourselves to the level of, because important is that the people can understand. This is important. No. Yesterday I had a podcast in Italy, and what I said is exactly this, because I know we spoke about another thing, and I know that again maybe there are a lot of situations. Sometimes I like to be a little bit practically transgressive with the normal practically methodology. No? And I told I don't want to be, I don't say that everything I say is correct. I want that people can understand exactly what I say.
Yes. Yes.
Cioè, I explain something, maybe good or maybe not good, but people need to understand. For understanding that is good or not good, the first thing need to understand what I say. So there is not something yet maybe something like this. I am very precise, maybe wrong, maybe wrong. But in any case, what I say already with the other produced the result that I had. It's possible to do something better, maybe, yes, yes. But it's not possible to say that this system didn't work.
Right.
This is it.
Knut, returning back to hard work, can you give us a practical example of hard work and commitment looks like in an athlete? Do we have an example to share with us?
But I give you an example, no? You know that I was the first practically using special block. Special block, it means for marathon, is special. Was something putting morning and afternoon work in this direction, and at the end of the day, special block, not very heavy, is 40-45 kilometers, but we arrived in a mileage sometime of 60 kilometers in one day. I used, maybe with one time every 3 weeks, a special block, no? For something shorter, like Shaheen, world record of steeple, I used something that is a different type of special block, not for volume, but for intensity in one day. And for example, one special block was before Helsinki World Championship 2005, 2,000 meters in 4:52, 1,600 meters in 3:56, 1,200 meters in 2:52, 800 meters in 1:52, practically with 4 minutes recovery. In the afternoon, in the morning, in Helsinki, in the afternoon was practically 2 sets of 5 times 300 meters with recovery 45 seconds between one and the other, and between one set of 5 and the next set 2 minutes 50. The average was 38.3 in the top 5, and in the last 5, the first was 39. The last 4 were between 37.3 and 37.1. So he had the possibility to attack the world record of Edgar Rouge in 1,500 meters. So this is a typical example of very hard work that is not part of training, is the cherry on the cake.
Yeah.
We need instead to speak about the cake. Hard work is for making the cake bigger.
Yes.
No?
Yes.
The problem is that when we speak about this, the attention of people, of the coaches, goes not on the cake, but goes on the cherry.
Yeah.
Because is the impact, when we speak another type of training, for example, 6 times coppers with 1 kilometer in 2:20 to 21, 1 minute recovery, 300 meters in 39. And after 5 minutes, repeating 6 times this one. Cioè, everybody is shocked, no?
Yes.
When there is this situation. But this is one in 1 year. Cioè, the problem is what we have to do for enhancing the level, the basic level of this type of a champion, practically, for allowing them to do something like this. Because this is what can give the difference between being the number 2 in the world and between beating the world record, something like this. But it's what we did generally every day that is important. So, first thing, we need to understand what hard work means. Hard work means that we go for a lot of volume or hard work is because we go one time, sometime with unbelievable intensity. No, I remember Fiasconaro was with me in that period. Is yet Italian record 1:43.7 before the world record 1973. Yeah. 1973. So it means 53 years ago, practically. The last workout was 3 times 600 meters. Was not Renato Canova telling this. Was his coach in South Africa called Stuart Banner, that was not a coach, but was one with money, creating something like practically a chain of restaurants, but was the coach of Marcello Fiasconaro. And told him, we are 2 months that they didn't speak, arrived with one paper like one hand. The program was, if you have the competition of 400 meters on Saturday, your training is on Monday, 3 times 300 in 34 and a half with a 10 minutes recovery. No? And on Wednesday, 6 times 150 meters at the same, with the 2 minutes recovery at the same speed of 300. If instead you have 800 in the competition, on Monday are 3 times 600 in 122, and on Wednesday there are 6 times 300 meters. This is the program for all the season in a paper like this. So we arrived the day of 3 times 600 meters. He went the first in 119, the second in 118 something, and after disappeared. No, not the 122 of Stuart Banner. No, after this I look for the third. No, and I didn't meet him. After I go to see in the water jump was a field of water. And I saw it was very hot, it was June, very, very hot. And I saw that he went completely in the water, or the water jump for refreshing. So I go there and I told, how is the march? And he asked me, how much is the recovery? I told, now it's already 12 seconds. No, but 2 times are very much faster. I think that you can quit. No. Stuart says that I needed to go 3, I go 3. Okay, but maybe the third, maybe 124. And I take another athlete that I had, I put him the last 300 meters, and I said, listen, when March arrives, help him a little bit. March arrived with 42 seconds, correct, after 300 meters. The other was an athlete for 151 in 800 meters. Maybe emotion, maybe that fear, go full gas when March is yet 10 meters behind. March didn't want to lose, no? So started to do this, because when he wanted to use the shoulders, run the second 300, so the first was 42, the second 300 was 36.2, no? Catching the other athlete 2 meters before the end and run again 118. 3 times like this, practically, no? So this was something particular. In fact, after 6 days, he had the world record, no? Are not a part of the normal training. No. Every coach can do something specific like this when the level of the athlete is already 90%, no? The problem is what you have to do for arriving at 90%. So you need to mix hard work in extension with hard work in intensity without being not hard, but terrible work. Sure. That is something that you use only one time for giving something more. If you use a second time, you go down because you stress your body. Yeah. So before doing this, you need to be able to understand really and to know perfectly the athlete. Otherwise, you can't do something like this.
In some sessions that are more to the mind, or a lot to the mind also, not only for the body, because the mind need to work a lot in these
Of
sessions.
course, but also, Paolo, hard work is something that depends. What is hard for you is not hard for me.
Yes.
We spoke before that there is somebody, young athlete also, if you ask to do something fast, 300, 400 meters, goes to you and asking, no, but can I go running 1 hour 30 because I prefer? Cioè, for him is hard run 2 times 300 maximum. No, for a sprinter it's hard to run jogging 20 minutes. So it's not, for me, 2 words don't exist. Easy and difficult. Because there is not easy and there is no difficult. There is what is possible to do for one person, what is not possible to do. No, for one that is 150 and 39 kilograms, it's not possible to become the world record of shot put. No, so it's not difficult. No, for me it's difficult to do. I remember the first time I was in Seoul, I saw people almost blind. No, all the ladies, maybe 80 years old, something like this, that were able to create a, how is the name, collana, no, something like this, putting in 1 minute different small different colors, small stones, no, different colors, with a very, very small hole in the middle. And after, no, when they have this, you went to see where the same practically, how is it, succession, no? Practically for 3, 4 times, and for us is impossible. For this lady was easy. No? So it's not possible to speak about these 2 situations.
So we need to individualize the training, because
of course,
even for the mind, individualize all the process is critical. Is not easy to individualize the training, and sometimes all the coaches know this
something
part,
that for you is possible, at the beginning is more difficult because you have to learn, and after become easy. But the first thing is possible. It is useless that you try something that is impossible. So when, for example, African and our friend Eliud practically says nothing is impossible, is not true. Because the first part of the phrase is between what is possible, no, between what is possible,
nothing is impossible.
No, nothing is impossible, but between what is possible, something like this, no. So we need to understand the possibility, and also to the motivation, the interest of everybody to have a part of his life, no, in direction of a positive direction for achieving something. Because if you start to think what you don't do, and for you become more important what you don't do than what you want to do, it's time to quit. Go back. Go to, you are more interested in what you don't do.
Right. Renato, you are the right person to tell us what being a coach means. Because it's your life. During all your life.
My life was also, I had exactly one date when I started to be a coach. I put in my book, no, was 11 September 1956. I am in front of the television. I see the match of athletic, no, Italy, Spain, France, no, and for 2 days, in 2 days, I saw the Italian record of 100 meters from Galbiati, 10.4, and especially the record of 4x4 at the end of the winning against France and Spain. And I started to like athletics. And immediately finishing this, I told, when I go, because I was in the vacation between first and second media, that of course I was between 11 years old, 11 something, no practical. And I told, when I go, I want to be the coach of the Italian national team. Was when I was 11 years old.
Yeah, I love that.
After this, athletic remaining always in my heart. I remember that my parents gave me, when I started to go in the stadium, it was 4 kilometers from my house, and I had the small money for taking a tramway, for going. I never took a tramway, I went always walking, because using this money, because every Tuesday there was one paper, Tutto Sport, with the list of the top 10 seasonal and the top 10 in the world at that period every week. And I use it for buying this. After I started with the University Center of Torino, my first competition was, I was not yet 15. I remember 7 November 1959. Was 1500 meters, my time at the end 5:07.9. I was not yet 15. After I started to walk a little bit in the winter, but not too much, 2 times per week. Next year was 1960. I was number 2 in the 1000 meters in the school championships. 2:53, nothing of special, that period. And after I discovered that I was good in 600, because in 600 meters I ran 1:24, and we didn't have coach practically, because the coach was very good coach, but died that year for practically was 190 and became 37 kilograms, had a problem in the SLA, no? And so without coach, I was not able to choose something, because with 124, not yet 16 years old, in 600, probably I needed to prepare 400, 800, something like this, and was my event. Instead, I liked to do everything, practically, So it means that I never prepared nothing, But doing everything was because I already had in my mind the idea to be like a coach, also 16 years old.
Because why?
I could.
The passion of athletics and try to transform
I liked
something.
I liked when I was in, for example, everywhere, long jump, discus jump, something like this, to discuss for people, for athletes elder than me, and to have some proposal. Why we don't do this? Why we don't try this one?
Yeah.
No. Look that you put your foot, try to change something.
Looking for solutions.
Already. So my vocation was to, maybe because if I had the quality for becoming a top athlete, maybe not.
Yeah.
But I knew that I was not a top athlete.
Yeah.
I was a good athlete, but not a top athlete. So for me, it was a pleasure to study technique, to understand what happened, and to have different feelings sometimes, also opposite feelings. Because I went to run the only marathon in my life in 1965 without any preparation, 2:53, 2 hours 53, and walking the last 10 kilometers because a problem in the knee, and this teach me that the problem many times for marathon is not only the organical problem, but is really to have a preparation in the body structure. For 2 months I was in the university. I could not stay seated like this. So every minute I needed to stand up. The professor, some question, no, it's my knee. No, something like this. So was like really like a mission almost, I feel inside myself this idea to teach this one. And you know why? Because in athletics it's not possible to cheat.
Yeah.
So you have, I needed in my mind to have a measure of what I was able to do.
Yeah.
And the measure of the improvement for people that I went to advise, practically. And after this, I play. I play football, I play basket, I play volleyball for fun. But the mind was there, practically.
I have no words to express my gratitude for everything that you have given us, and I'm sure that the entire running community thinks in the same way. Thank you very much for being here and to give me this opportunity to talk
At
with
the
you.
end, thank you. My fortune was that my passion became my profession.
Yes.
It's something that is not easy. When it can happen in every type of field, not only in sport, you can be a person that can have serenity, no? Because you don't feel the stress or something like this, because you do something that you like. This is to be lucky.
Yes.
I was lucky. Under this point of view, I was lucky.
Yes. Thank you very much, Renato. Thank you.
Thank you to you.